Get taller when he come in, though.
You're not gonna get taller.
I could look taller.
He got you by a foot.
A whole, like a foot. You know what I'm saying? God, look.
Don't be
What
scared.
up, brother?
What's up, guys?
What's
There you
happening,
go.
man? Good to see you, man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Last time I saw you was in the airport, man.
I was?
Leaving Europe, I believe.
Oh, yeah. That was a good trip.
France,
Cam was
actually.
great.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got a pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Well, Carl Nassib, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the Pivot. This is Fred Taylor. This is Channing Crowder.
What's up, guys?
I'm Ryan Clark, Pivot fan. Thank you for pivoting with us. Man, a 7-year career, right? Played for 3 different teams.
Yep.
The one thing I thought was really cool, though, and I want to get to it later, was you thanking SpyTech and Light for helping you with your career.
100%.
2 times.
Twice.
Twice. You know, we'll get to it. You walk in, man. We talked about how tall you were.
Yeah.
Right? And we know length is a part of playing the defensive line. How does the eventual Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year have to enter Penn State as a walk-on?
Great question. I was, technically like a late bloomer. I was 5'9" as a freshman in high school, and by the time I left high school, I was like 6'6". But I never started a game in high school. Was a little bit of a nerd. I love school. All my best friends were nerds, and it was weird. Like my older brother was a star quarterback. He was, playing at Syracuse, and then there I was, this like lanky kid who, I was a good player, but wasn't a starter. Wasn't a big name on the team. And then I got kind of lucky. I played against Skylar Morningweg. He was you remember Morningweg? He was OC for the Birds for a while. So my last game in high school, I played against his son, and I had like 3 sacks, and it was like I got in the local newspaper, and that was kind of what got me the walk-on spot. I got really lucky.
When did it click though? Because Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, you were a walk-on. When did you know it clicked?
I don't know. I remember when I got to Penn State. If you've ever been to the Penn State football building, they have this huge wall of All-Americans. Have you seen it?
Yep.
And it goes back to like the late 1800s.
My dad is on there.
No way.
My dad went to Penn State. He was the
why did-
first black captain ever to play for Penn State back in 1971 or something crazy.
That's
like
incredible,
that.
man.
I visited Penn State, but they fucked up because they brought me up in January.
Oh, no.
It was 4 feet of snow on the ground. Me and Courtney Brown
Yeah.
sat in a room, and the girls, and we sat there and watched the sitcom, and I was like, this is the worst school ever.
No,
I'm not
that's
coming
bad.
to-
That's a bad look. That's why they have spring games. Why didn't they bring you up in the
They
spring
brought
game?
me up there January 11th.
Yeah, that's a bad look. I mean, I remember those winter workouts at 5 a.m., really tested you. They were the worst you could possibly imagine. He's on that wall with me. That's amazing. But I remember being like 18 years old and walking by that wall every day, and I was like, I want to be on that fucking wall.
Right.
For years, like that I was there, I was a walk-on. And this wasn't like the fun days now of walk-ons that they get brand deals, that they're doing all these cool things. Like, I had to pay to eat with the team. We didn't even work out with the scholarship kids. Like, it was a different time for walk-ons, and I still wanted to be on that wall.
I have some history with. It was pretty tough. Billy O'Brien, Billy O.
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about the moment in the spring game when you told him you were going to make it to the NFL, and he kicked you out his office or something. You
Yeah,
felt
man.
it was disrespectful.
That was the worst kind of moment where, you tell somebody your dream and they just kind of shoot you down. So I think I was like 19 at the time, but this was after the spring game, right after the spring game, where you do those like exit meetings, like after spring ball, like you go to the head coach. And I was a walk-on, I hadn't played yet, hadn't even like sniffed the field. But I knew I wanted to play in the league. Like my brother was quarterback, he was about to get drafted. And so I go to his office and I say, hey coach, I haven't played here much, but my dream is to play in the NFL. He's like, let me stop you right there. I was like, oh shit. He was like, for you to play here on scout team at Penn State would be a miracle. He's like, for you to tell me you want to play in the NFL is fucking insulting. Get the fuck out. And I left, and I was like, man, I have never been, told something like that from somebody who knows the game. Like, that dude won 3 Super Bowls with Brady. You know what I mean? And there wasn't some, like, chump in the stands talking shit. Like, it was a pretty tough moment. didn't really tell anybody about it for years because it was so embarrassing. That summer, right after the spring game, every day I was benching. I was picturing his face, you know what I mean? And so that summer, I gained 15 pounds of muscle, lost 10 pounds of fat, and then kind of turned my career around. So it was a catalyst to really, accelerate my time at Penn State. And, that camp, I had 60 sacks in a couple weeks. I was camp player of the year. The craziest part about it was at the end of that camp, right before the season, I had run out of money. I was paying for school myself, taking out loans. And then I got a call on the week before our first game. And it was yo, head coach wants to see you. I was damn, it's over. They're gonna know I didn't pay my bill. This was fun. I'm glad I went out on a high note. I had a great time in camp. And then I get called up, and one of my best friends, Darren, was, walking up with me. He's what the hell's going on? And I get up to the top floor of coach's offices, and then my buddy Devin is walking out of his office. I'm what the hell's going on? And Devin looks at us, he goes, I just got put on scholarship. So me and my buddy Darren are is this happening for us? Is this because he was a walk-on too. We were all walk-ons together. Darren walks in first, I'm shaking. He walks out, doesn't even look at me. And he just walks out. So I go back into, Billy O's office, and he's man, I know we had a tough conversation a few months ago, but you proved me wrong, and we're gonna put you on scholarship.
That's awesome.
It was if anybody knows football, knows what it's like to be a walk-on, knows how hard walk-ons work, that was one of the best, if not the best moment of my football career, because it was so make or break. And then I walk back down to the locker room. Darren is sitting in my locker like this, and we just hugged it out. It was cool. Yeah. So it was a big moment.
Carl, but it's so easy to quit though. After hearing that, being a walk-on, knowing how hard it is, seeing what the other guys are going through.
Yeah.
You could have easily said, you know what, he's right. He's seen it all. He's Patriot, the dynasty, but you didn't. Why not?
I think I've kind of always had this mentality. I never wanted to be mediocre in anything. I hate losing a lot more than I like winning. When I win at something, I have to actively try and celebrate things because I just feel winning is something I'm supposed to do. And I feel that's a lot of athletes, I don't think I'm that unique when it comes to pro athletes, college athletes, where you hear things, you have to have a really good positive self-talk. And that carries you through a lot of things. But I think when players lose that positive self-talk and they lose that confidence, and I had no reason to have the confidence either. I had never played. Right. You know what I mean? You were looking at me, when I got to Penn State, people were oh shit, we got a new punter. This kid's tall as hell. You know what I mean? I was no, I'm a DN tight end. I don't know where I'm gonna fit in yet. Right. But I think the positive self-talk was what really kept me in it.
You mentioned in that positive self-talk, I was an undrafted guy.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I wouldn't make the team or when I'd get cut and get put on a practice squad, I always had the fight that, this is why they didn't draft you in the first place.
Yeah.
Or they still believed the things they believed about you then. And it was always not difficult, but it was always intentional for me to not fall into that mindset.
Yeah.
To not believe those things about myself. You talked about that positive self-talk though. How did you use that when you got to the league and you were let go? Because when you come from being a walk-on to getting to that position, you could easily go, damn, I got cut. Maybe I was never as good as they thought I was when I was winning awards in college.
I always wanted to be the best, and I had coaches tell me, stop saying that. Be the best you can be. And I was man, that. That is the worst advice you could give anybody. Yeah. Strive to be the best you can be. Lame. You know what I mean? I wanted to be the best. And was I the best? By no shot was I the best. But I know that I hung my helmet up, I gave it everything I could. And I feel if you're aiming for the best you can be, that can get kind of, blurry of what you're striving for. And if you're always comparing yourself to the best and not just making up fake milestones, it just really carried me through a lot more. But getting fired multiple times is pretty humbling. I got fired on Hard Knocks. Have you guys ever been fired on Hard Knocks?
No, I never.
Okay, I got that one on you guys. Yeah, that was tough. International television, got fired. But then I got picked up right by the Bucks. Jason Light picked me up, and I think Spytek's now at the Raiders too. I got to text him. Yeah. But twice they picked me up after I got cut. So those guys are the man.
Well, I'm sure at your size, you could have went to a smaller school than Penn State. Like you said, it's funny you say that, set your goals at being the best you can be and all this stuff. You could have went to Western Kentucky and had a scholarship. You could have went somewhere and had a scholarship, but those guys that set their goals to play at Penn State, a lot of dudes ain't gonna be like you, bro. They're not gonna be called up in the office.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a senior in high school, I was like, again, I was kind of a nerd. Like, I wanted to go to med school. I got my degree in biology. I got all my med school prereqs. That's kind of the track that I wanted to go in. And so when I got the call from my dad, hey, Penn State offered your walk-on spot, I was like, oh shoot, let's go there. I was going to go to a school in Philly and just become a doctor in Philly. So I wasn't even thinking about playing college ball because my high school experience was so shitty. And then when I got the call to Penn State, I was like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Penn State's, as you know, guys, is like one of the best football programs in America. So I couldn't pass that up.
You really are a nerd, man.
Yeah.
Like bro, I remember seeing you on Hard Knocks,
Yeah.
right? And you're on the board and you're telling people, you're like, hey man, so if you got $1 million and it increases by this, and then it increases by this.
It's crazy,
and
though.
you're like, in this many years, you'll have this. And then everybody was like, well, Miles got 30 million. What's he
Put that on the board. I remember that, man.
What was that moment about? And how did you forget that the cameras were rolling? Because you're giving a freaking financial TED talk to football players.
I will give that talk whenever, however. I mean, it's so important. A friend of mine just gave me a Tony Robbins book, and it taught me, I remember reading like the math over 30 years, what if you just invested, get 7%, 7 to 10% every year for, as a long-term investor, what that can do for you, and creating generational wealth for, marginalized communities, what that could do. And I was like, this needs to be talked about. I said it in a very interesting way. I was emphatic, to say the least, about, I do curse a lot, but that was one of the more colorful lessons that have been told. And it's important. I mean, like, financial literacy, financial wellness is wildly important. I've been trying to be an advocate for that for like years.
How does that go over? Because I'll say I was the wild strip club, man,
Yep.
get the hell out of here with that stuff. I was the wild guy. So that clip of you doing that, I'd have been doing it back like, man, what the hell is this big-ass white boy talking about, man? Get out of here. How did that go over?
It was great.
But being a nerd in the NFL locker room.
There were some other nerds too. Like, there was some Ivy League. I got some Ivy League school friends that were some nerds in there too. I wasn't nearly the smartest guy on the team, but I think as a millennial growing up and like you lived through the 2008 housing market crash, you kind of feel what it's like to feel financial stress. It's like, I never want to feel that again. You know what I mean? And being super frugal is like the best way to insulate yourself from, stuff that's happening in the market today, right? Like, people who don't do a good job at budgeting and like taking care of their finances, they are sweating bullets right now. But for people who do it day to day, in the best of times, they're keeping their budget. They're chilling in times like this. Like, I really, you talk about the strip club. I think I've been to a strip club a couple times, but I lived in Vegas for 2 years. It was incredible. Yeah. So it was so fun. Like, I'm a king of blackjack. But, we would be at the Marquee Lounge at the Cosmopolitan. Have you guys ever been there? Like, there was, freaking Lil Jon was playing. There was DJ. And I was like, this is incredible. And I'm sitting there with my vodka sodas and having a great time. And then I see all these guys. They have tables. You know what I mean? They're all the sparklers are getting all of it. And I'm like, I go to my friend, I'm like, yo, are we living life wrong? Like, should we be doing that? Because we know we're making 8 figures, and these nerds are like here for a bachelor party or something, right? Like, we should be doing stuff like this. And he goes, hey man, like, they buy bottles, we buy properties. And that kind of stuck with me. You know what I mean? And that was some gangster shit right there. Like, that was, and to this day, I mean, I bought a property here in New York last year, and I'm really proud of that, because the only reason why I could afford it was because how tight I was with my budget for 7 years in the league. Like, I was tight with it. Yeah. And I just encourage all athletes, and now that these college kids can make money, they need to be really good with it too.
We kind of skipped over it a little bit, but you went from wanting to be drafted, being overconfident for a moment, to finally getting drafted.
Yeah.
Go back to draft night, that experience, and then the locker room, actually getting there and going from being confident to, were there ever a moment you felt intimidated?
Yeah. I got drafted to the Browns, and I had to go against Joe Thomas in camp. That is humbling. You know what I mean? That's intimidating. And he's a nice guy. Like, Joe's the best tackle of all time, and he could have been the meanest guy. And he's a great dude. But I do remember, I think my first preseason game was at Lambeau, and I remember like walking out onto the field with my buddies, being like, oh, we're in the NFL. Like, this is crazy. A year ago, I hadn't even started a football game since 8th grade. You know what I mean? That's a crazy year. Right before my senior year of college, I never started a game since 8th grade, and then I was walking out of the tunnel at Lambeau Field a year later. It was pretty incredible. Yeah. And I wasn't so much intimidated, because I did kind of feel like I was that dude. leaving college. I had like all the, excitement of it, but we did go 1-31 my first 2 years in the league.
That's crazy.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Like, that was really tough because all athletes usually want to be winners, you know what I mean? And then, when you win a championship, when you are on a good playoff team, those guys like stick around, you know what I mean? But when you're like on a losing team, people, that guy's been a part of a losing culture. He doesn't know how to win. So it's kind of a lot tougher than you think to be on those losing teams early on.
Carl, to go back to the Hard Knocks moment, the financial stability talk, and part of that sort of education for those young men, you say, yeah, and I was going to meet Taylor Swift, and I almost bought a Rollie, but I didn't because of this. And what I want to get to is, in that moment, did you feel like you had to bring up a woman or sort of phrase it that I was going to meet Taylor Swift and here's my Rollie because that's what you did in locker rooms?
It's a great question. It's a really good question. First off, I gotta say, I've been a Taylor Swift fan way longer than all these other bandwagon fans. Excuse me. And also, the closet door was made of glass. I mean, I was the biggest Taylor Swift fan my entire life, and I don't know how anybody didn't see that. I don't know, man. I've never been asked that question before. That's a good question. I think there was probably there was a ton of things that I would say to like curate, a look of like, oh, I was straight. Oh, I wasn't gay, obviously. Didn't have a guaranteed contract. I was very worried about getting outed, and I didn't want to, have all the work that I put in at Penn State my entire life kind of be taken away. So I guess that is one of the more funny moments of where I was kind of putting on a little fake show to try and, show that I was.
If you had been trying to put on a fake show for so long, what finally made you comfortable on June 21st of 2021 to be very straightforward and say, oh, by the way, guys, I'm gay?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do it for like years before that. There was a few catalysts that really were like, yo, you gotta do this. Two big ones. First one was my uncle, who was my mom's youngest brother, was gay. And my mom was 1 of 12, Irish Catholic. And so he passed away in about 2019, end of 2019. And I was only out to like my siblings and my close friends at this point, and my parents. And when he was passing away of cancer, my mom called me and she was like, you gotta go down and see Uncle Bill. So I was playing the Seahawks. I didn't tear my groin, but I like pulled my groin bad in Seattle. So I get the call, fly back to Tampa. Then I had to fly the next day up to DC to go see him. And he was doing better like the year before, but I saw him on his deathbed and he was in a really bad shape. And I came out to him. We're from a huge family. I have 44 first cousins, and he was the only gay guy gay person in the entire family. When I came out to him, he and his husband were there, and he was like, this is the biggest weight off of my chest. He's like, I'm not the only one. And like those words, I'm like, man, there's probably so many people out there that are gonna feel that same way. And so I felt really charged after that. And I do feel, I'm not regret, but I was like, oh, if I could, in a perfect world, I could have come out earlier and like kind of been his backup. You know what I mean? Kind of could have been there for him a lot more than I was. And that really spurred like, hey, I gotta do this, And then 5 months later, I signed a great contract with the Raiders, had a bunch of guaranteed money, and I felt like, damn, like now they can't touch me, right? Yeah. So there was I was like, this isn't even like something I want to do, this is something I need to do. You know what I mean? I have been gifted so many rights, so many freedoms that the previous generation in my community did not have. It's like, I can't just sit on these and rake it in, especially when I have the guaranteed money, especially when I have a really hard touch point of what it was like, you know what I mean, for the generation before me through my uncle. And then COVID hit. And then, right before that, I think George Floyd got killed. Mm-hmm. And so there was a lot of turmoil with the NFL, with social justice, with COVID. There's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So I actually read the room in 2020. I was like, this isn't the time, Carl. Like, you do not need to add anything to this. So then I waited until 2021. I knew I wanted to take a lot of that attention and bring it to the Trevor Project. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the Trevor Project.
Donated like $100,000 right away. Yeah.
And then the NFL matched it. I'm now on the board of the Trevor Project, which is great. They're an amazing organization, but I knew it would get a lot of attention, so I wanted to make sure that attention got put to a good place.
That's awesome, man.
I've never heard the closet door was glass.
Yeah.
Did people know? I've never heard that phrase.
I'm at a Taylor Swift concert and like losing my mind, and like everyone's like, oh, that's cool, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. So yeah.
Wait, he said everybody was like, Oh, that's cool.
But I remember, I'm really annoyed about that because I remember I had great tickets and I met her before the concert. I met her parents. Like, they're great. They're awesome people. And I couldn't get one of my teammates to come with me. And then now the Eras Tour was like this huge moment and everybody was going. Bunch of nerds, man. Pissing me off.
Did teammates know I had dudes in college that I knew were gay?
Yeah.
And I don't know why they would tell me, but
Yeah.
like we knew when we'd ask and they'd say it, but they weren't, like you're saying, I was in college in early 2000s.
Yeah, it's different.
They weren't ready for that.
No.
Did people know before you were?
I have no idea. Maybe.
Really?
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't have a girlfriend for a long time. They'd be like, you get weird looks. So it was like, I have no idea. I can do a poll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd see it. I could ask people like, hey, did you know before I told you? I have no idea. Yeah, it kind of all went down as perfectly as it could have. I feel very lucky and really blessed and grateful that I got to come out and be supported. So many people before me came out and they got ostracized, they got fired, they got all these different things. And so that's a big reason why I work with the Trevor Project, because we help, the LGBTQ youth. And I was like, I got to pass this down, right?
Even in that community support, like after you came out, your coaches, teammates, was there any one moment that you felt like extremely touched? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like by
there are a bunch.
their reactions?
Yeah. It's cool when my family gets approached by people saying like, hey, what Carl did like really helped me come out, help me, have a tough conversation with my family. Those are really cool. And it's the biggest blessing in the world. I've had so many people come up to me still to this day. I mean, it's about to be 4 years later and it goes by like that. I mean, we're still talking about it. You guys, are great allies to like give a voice to people like me. So like, all these moments are still happening. I would have to make a very, very long list. Yeah, it's just, I can't even count how many cool moments have come from it.
So kind of full circle for you right now, it could be Kalen Saunders of the New Orleans Saints.
The man. I just DM'd him the other day.
Yeah, so his brother
What
was
an ally.
a backup dancer
For T Swift.
for Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And he's now putting on an LGBTQ friendly camp.
10 out of 10.
When you think about where you were and trying to make sure you were secure before telling the world
Yeah.
that you were gay, what does it say about the progression of football that now an active football player could be doing this for the LGBTQ community?
It's incredible. Shout out to their parents for like having two incredibly successful sons in two very different industries. Like those guys are killing it. I had so many people send me that, and I was so proud, so thankful that he was doing that. It goes a long way, and the fact that it's like it's a camp where, I say this a lot, the pipeline to the NFL and to pro sports, it's actually a lot more homophobic than pro sports because we're adults. This is where we go to feed our family. Like, people aren't immature and stupid, but the high school, college route, I feel like there can be a lot of change there. And so what they're doing is really strategic. It's really impactful. I just kind of love that I kind of found out about it later. Like, it's not even through me. Like, I don't have to be the gateway to do all these things. It's like they're happening without me. I think that's amazing.
How much pressure did you feel as the gateway gay guy? You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, because you know how it is when you become the first of anything, right? Like if you're a black man and you're the first to do this, now everybody points to you or wants to pull on
I
you.
know what you mean. Yeah.
And wants to pull on you because, hey, you did it and you
Such
did
a
it
great
first.
question.
How much, you got to give back.
Such a
Hey,
great
Carl,
question.
now you've done it and you've said that you were gay, so you got to be with us in
So it's a
everything.
great
How
question.
much pressure was it on you once you did make the announcement to be like, I have to be everywhere, I have to do everything, I have to touch all the people?
You see it in different aspects. First woman to do this, first black man to do this, first gay person to do this. You see it in different industries where people have not had the opportunities to get to the top. And you want the focus to be, you even see this with black coaches in the NFL. Like, still today, they're like, hey, like, Todd Bowles going against Tomlin, what does that mean? Like, I remember that was like last year. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I
Black versus black.
you know what I mean? Like, Todd is my favorite coach I've ever had. Like, I remember Tomlin is like maybe my favorite coach.
Right.
I remember coming out in the draft and I was at the combine and I was meeting him. He was the coolest guy ever. Like, I was like, man, I want to play for this guy. Like, this is cool. Even though I grew up a Birds fan. But it's interesting because you don't want to discredit all the work that people have done before you to give you this opportunity. But also at the same time, you want to be remembered for your work. and you want to be remembered for your accomplishments. And so I remember before coming out, it was the biggest thing that I was worried about. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was first walk-on to become an All-American. I broke 3 records at Penn State. I won 5 national awards. I did all these things, right? And the only thing I want to be remembered for is like being the token gay guy. And that was really tough for me to like overcome. And then I was like, if this is the only thing that I'm gonna, like, is gonna be the only negative, I still gotta do it. Because there are people out there in like way tougher positions than me. But it's, you know, it's a balance. You know, I get called up for a bunch of different things. I finance things for LGBTQ issues, football stuff. Like, I'm now a tech founder and I still talk about football stuff. So it's, you know, you can be multifaceted and that's okay. Early on, I did feel like, ooh, maybe when is there gonna be a chance where I just get remembered only for like my accomplishments, you know?
I would tell you that I went back and looked at your accomplishments when you were the first gay guy that came out.
Yeah.
Like even at Penn State, no, like I'm a grown man now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not worried about college kids, but when you came, then I went back and I saw you play and I'm like, okay, and we went back and looked. So I guess the negative of how you were saying, I don't want this be forgotten.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people now know your career better.
That's a great point. That's
with
a great
the
point.
front of it.
Totally.
Because now it's like, damn.
He can play.
Yeah.
Motherfucking Big Ten player, you said
Yeah.
Big Ten is a big
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was different than that. But RC brings up the first of things, and we've all seen 42 with Jackie Robinson, right? Did you have any of those moments? Remember when they let Jackie in and now the ignorance? And I almost don't want a bad story because everybody thinks football players are these big meatheads that don't understand anything. Like, I
got funny stories.
Are there the meatheads out there?
Nah, man, I got a few funny stories that are so hilarious. This was 2020. I was on the Raiders and we were playing the Browns. And I think Baker was a quarterback. And he's a very mobile quarterback, but they ran like 3 bootlegs away from me. And you know when you're on the opposite of a bootleg, you got to chase it all the way over there. And they did 3 bootlegs in a row to start the second half. I was so mad. And these are all my former teammates. And so I'm chasing the third one. I said, stop the gay-ass bootlegs. The entire Browns O-line turned around at me, you can't say that. And I was like, oh man, the league is ready for this. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they are ready for me. Like, we got some allies here. You know what I mean? I was like, this is so funny. Like the guy that's about to come out saying the word gay, getting shut down by 5 massive dudes. Like, it was like in stereo, you can't say that. And like, we just like all like started running after the ball. It was hysterical. So like, one, I have to acknowledge like my own moment where I was a little bit ignorant, but stop running boots, you know what I mean? Like, sit in the pocket. Yeah. You know, one of my favorite things was right after I came out, I came back to Vegas, and one of my buddies, I don't even remember his name, this is messed up. He was a rookie, undrafted guy, and I can't remember his name. But it was so funny when I got back, he was like, hey, Carl, how was your gaycation? And I was like, that is the funniest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's a quote from The Office. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever watched The Office. Yeah. But no, man, like I like, it was very few and far between. And people are very, very weary to talk shit to me in person. You know what I mean? Like, people, you know, Twitter fingers are live to this day, but not many people will say things in person. Yeah.
Like us, you're on a full-time, well, I guess not, but you're on a full-time gaycation in post-career.
Okay.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, your post-career.
Hey, man. Listen, we want to be able to do these shows after Carl now, too.
He made it light. I'm not making it light.
No, you're good.
Right?
That's good. I like it.
So
no, I'm retired. I'm retired.
Let him grab you now.
Oh no,
that's a big old son of a bitch right there now.
I'm not running up on him, but no, in your post career, is there anything that keeps you going? Like, what's your direction right now?
I actually started a software startup that I mentioned earlier. It's called Raise, R-A-Y-Z-E. You know, we're a mobile app and software platform, and we try to accelerate all different types of philanthropy. We try and connect people and businesses to nonprofits. And, you know, in America, people really have no clue how important the philanthropy and nonprofit industry is. You know, it's a $3 trillion industry. And America, you know, we're a capitalistic society where, you know, you get what you earn. It's all about like how much output can you put in. And we don't do the best job at like providing for our most vulnerable. And that's where, you know, nonprofits come in, churches come in, schools come in, social programs come in, and less people are giving, less people, you know, corporations are pulling back. So my mission is to make those interactions as seamless as possible with Raise, and hopefully get more people involved, get more companies involved, and get more funding to people that need it the most. But yeah.
Did you struggle at all post-football?
Nothing too serious. I mean, I love my job now. Being surrounded by athletes, they're the most passionate, hardworking people in the world. Now I get to talk with nonprofit CEOs and nonprofit people every day. Those people are the most passionate people you ever meet. They take low salaries to help out people in really tough situations, and they do it because out of the kindness of their hearts. They could go into the private sector and make much more money. And so I feel very fulfilled, very excited that I get to work with Raise and try and help nonprofits. But there are huge aspects of football that I miss, you know what I mean?
How much of your journey went into you wanting Raise to be about nonprofits? You know, and being able to help people who sometimes may not have the means or the resources or even be in a place to help themselves.
Totally. I first got involved with nonprofits through the Special Olympics, Penn State, and a little bit in high school. I loved working with Special Olympics. It was so much fun to see these athletes just love the game more than anybody. But then when I was volunteering in Tampa, this was actually with the team. We were volunteering at a local juvie center, and it was a half a mile from our facility. You know, we spent the day with these kids. Some of them were like 12, 13 years old, and they're like in jail cells because they were running away from a violent home environment, right? They didn't even commit a crime. They were just like picked up off the street. And they just like wanted books to read. And it was a really, really tough day. You know, a lot of us, it was really emotional, really hard. But the crazy part was that this facility, this center was a half a mile from the Bucs facility. And I drove by it every day for 2 years. And none of us knew that it was there. So I was like, this can't keep going. I wanted there to be an app on my phone where I can look up all the volunteering opportunities near me. I can get involved, kind of be like the open table of volunteering, where you're looking for a restaurant, just as easy as you see pizza near me. You can see, all right, I want to work with veterans. I want to work with animals. Like, you can find that easy. And that's kind of what started Raise. This is what started Raise. I was like, there just needs to be more volunteering. But then I got more into the industry, and I learned that there's way more work to be done, and that's kind of what brought it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you talk about the work being done, and we've kind of moved past your football career a little bit, because you are, you know, a lot more fascinating than that. But your first game playing after you came out as gay was against the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. You got a sack in that game. A sack fumble, actually, in that game, and you guys win with the Raiders. What was it like to be back on the field in a regular season game, and now there were no more secrets on your back?
That was a sick game. That was the first game in Las Vegas with fans. It was after COVID, so it was like Allegiant Stadium was rocking. And that is like a club. It is like the best stadium, one of the best stadiums, maybe the best in the NFL. I didn't really think about it that way. I thought about it like, hey man, like I can now not just only represent the name on my back, the jersey, like the team logo, but also my community. And kind of this can be like a, you know, an ode to everybody that came before me. I kind of keep reiterating that, but I do mean it. And it's like a thank you. Like, I'm out here because of y'all that came before me and paved the way. You know, Lamar is probably my favorite player right now. He's been my favorite player for a long time. I played on the Browns, and then, you know, I played him many times, and I should have had so many sacks. Luckily, that game I actually got him down in overtime. But it was one of the best games I'll ever remember. It was a huge moment for me. Yeah, it means a lot.
They called me the pocket watcher on this show, so I looked up your contracts, and yeah, you're not doing too bad in life. But with coming out, a community was gained. That's what made me think about it. You just said, you know, the community that's gained.
Yeah.
Did you see the difference in the fans or the gay football fans that now supported you more when coming out? Because I remember.
Well, sure, yeah,
I remember like they were coming out. They had flags and everything, and I was jacked up about it. I'm like, you got a dude now. Go support your dude. Did you see that everywhere?
I used to get hit in the head for a living, so I can't really remember. Yeah, and I mean, most games, if not all games, there was somebody there, like with the sign, with something, you know, something encouraging to say, and it happened all the time, and it was just, you know, even more fun. Like the game is the most fun for players. Yes. You work 365 for a few, like for 12, or now that's in college, but in the league it's now 17 3-hour periods.
Yep.
You play for the Browns, so it's only 16, but.
They get 17 out.
Now it's 17 hours. I know, it's so bad. I'm praying for a team to go 0-17. So like we're not the worst record. You know what I mean? Like us and the Lions are 0-16. I'm like, can somebody go 0-17, please?
Yeah.
But no, it was awesome to see the fans that came out to support me after coming out.
I was asking that to say, like, the negativity of it, like you're saying, the Twitter fingers, nobody's gonna walk up to you on the damn street downstairs and say nothing. But the negativity that you did get, the positivity offset it. And it was almost surprising to me. Like, I loved watching how the community embraced you for being the first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was a walk-on at Penn State, and I was on the Browns at 0-16. Like, I have heard it all. You know what I mean? It wasn't an easy journey for me to get to be, on the Raiders to come out. So I had some pretty thick skin. But 10 times out of 10, the positive outweighed the negative. I do kind of want that to be like a takeaway for people. Like, hey, people are going to say shit, but the positives are going to outweigh the negatives, tenfold.
When you do look back on everything, your career, your post-career right now, building Rays and everything that you're doing, who do you see, and what's the difference in the person you see versus the person who you were prior to being drafted and coming out?
I definitely feel like I'm a lot wiser. I can now engage in conversations that I didn't feel comfortable engaging in, 10 years ago. I often tell people that it's very underestimated how much you can learn from a conversation. And I've had great conversations over the last 7-10 years, but now being out, being able to have more meaningful conversations, I've definitely learned a lot more, a lot wiser than I was, just to have a better perspective of life, like what actually matters, what's important. And it's cool to look back. I was just, had dinner with a friend last night. We're like, damn, time moves very, very quickly. You know what I mean? It moves very, very fast. And it's good every once in a while to look past. I always look forward to the future. But it is good to look back and make sure that you have grown and that you have become wiser, because a lot of people go through their entire lives and they're still stupid as hell. You know what I mean?
Speaking of looking back, there's going to be something really cool done with the jersey.
Hell yeah.
You wore in your first game after coming out. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, very excited to announce. So that jersey that I wore against the Ravens, my first game as an out player, will now be displayed at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in D.C. And they reached out to me last year. They said, hey, we would love to add this to our collection. I said, absolutely. Like, this is huge. A little bit about me. I love museums. I love history, I love football, and I love the gays. You know what I mean? So this is a combination. This is a combination of everything.
Right.
It really is. Like, I don't get excited about a lot of things, but this is so dope, and I'm really excited. And it gets put on display May 21st. I can't wait for my family to go see it, like all my friends to go see it. And again, it's like, hey, this is a thank you to people that came before me, and like, I really didn't do much for it. I was gifted all this, right? I was gifted these opportunities. Like, I earned my spot as a football player, but like I was gifted all these opportunities. And, a big shout out to the museum for, having that representation and telling gay stories, because history is not an accurate depiction of a sequence of events. It is actually curated stories. Like, people choose what stories and how they get told, subjectively. It's not objective. So I really appreciate the Smithsonian for saying, hey, this is an important story. We want to make sure this gets remembered, because there's a lot of stories throughout gay history that don't really get included. So I feel very thankful.
That's awesome.
That's dope. I'm really pumped. I love DC. I love the Raiders, and I couldn't be happier.
In the gay community, is dating a football player a flex? Because Channing wasn't cute.
Don't talk bad about me.
Chan wasn't cute, but he played football.
Yeah.
Right? So because he played football, had money, was on TV on Sundays, he had opportunities to date people.
Are you speaking?
I'm retired now, so I'm old news. I'm old news. I don't know. I wish, you know what I mean? But yeah, you would see these ugly-ass dudes being around like the most beautiful women. I was like, they don't like you. But I will say this, like, I'm a funny person, objectively. Like, I think I'm one of the funnier people that I know. When I got to the NFL, I would tell stories or jokes that maybe were like B jokes, maybe C+. Like, they weren't like good jokes. And I would get the biggest laughs. And I was like, you guys are not laughing at me for the right reasons. I know my A+ material will hit time and time again. So like, it wasn't so much like, oh, I needed it from people that I wanted to date. It was like average people were, buttering up to you. So NFL players, athletes, they don't think that you're funny. they don't think that you're good looking. They just like, they want the status, yeah.
To that point,
And you
though,
experience this personally.
how was
yeah.
that? Me,
And
listen,
personally.
I'm funny as shit and I'm
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You got it.
Got my teeth done
Yeah.
too. Shit.
Same,
Carl.
Invisalign.
Yeah, no, I got them. I got veneers. I got them
nice.
to shave them bitches down and put new ones in.
Killing it.
When you look at your life now,
Yeah.
though, do you feel like it's the same if you never take that moment in 2021?
I'm sure a lot of things would be different. I would still be out, still be kind of living my best life. I do think that I wouldn't have had all the great moments and connections with people that I did over the last few years. So, yeah, there's got to be a ton of things that would have been different, but I'm super thankful that I did the way I did.
And with that, what do you say to the next Carl? You know, like a young person that's
Yeah.
just grinding it out, but somewhat unsure of who they are and sort of having those struggles. Like, how would you help them in their situation?
I was a pro at ignoring the noise, you know what I mean? And if you can get really good at that and just focus on your craft and keep it the main thing, then you'll be very successful. One thing that will give you the most confidence in any situation is preparation, and you can always control your preparation. So when you're incredibly prepared, you're incredibly confident, and then when you're confident, you can really succeed. If you're worried about what could affect your career, then just make sure your career is bulletproof. That's the first way to do it, and that's kind of what I did. Like, my career was essentially bulletproof when I came out. And for people that their career might not be bulletproof and you still want to take the leap, just make sure you have a good community of people around you that will support you no matter what happens.
I think we missed this part.
Okay?
When did you know?
Like my whole life. Yeah.
From what age? Like, because you don't
This
even
is
think,
great.
like, I don't
I
think
love
about
this.
girls. I
Yeah.
didn't think about girls at 3.
This is great.
This is
This is
I mean,
a
this
very
is great.
heterosexual
No, I just
questions.
love it. I love it. I
Like-
love it. Like, it's good. I love it.
You know what
It's
this
fun.
is, Carl?
What?
This is.
I'm like your guys' first gay friend.
Yeah, no,
You know what
no.
I mean?
Ask
I just
him
can't wait to
all
get
the
like 3
questions.
of my white buddies and ask one of my black friends, when did you know that you were black? You know what I mean? Something like that. Like, you just know. You know what I
About
mean?
9, Carl,
Like,
if you need an
when do you
He didn't know his mom
seriously,
was
when you get introduced
Yeah.
to the concept of race, when you get introduced to the concept of like, oh, you're different.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, at one point you're existing the way that you were programmed to exist. And then you hear about, oh, you shouldn't be this way. This is how you have to be. You get, parameters put on you that you weren't really born with. And so you just kind of have to like fall into line of what you hear and what you think that people expect from you. You don't really think about it until someone tells you that you're different,
Her first name was Rachel. I remember I was at Rainbow Elementary in Atlanta, and I saw Rachel, and I was like, that excites me. It was the first time, 5th grade,
Talk about when
10
you
years
realized
old.
he liked
You talk
girls.
like that conversation we're having.
When he realized he liked girls.
In 10th grade,
Oh my God, I was so confused. I had no idea what you were talking about.
Okay.
I was like, is this
So
Rachel person a
No,
a
so
famous
you're
person?
talking about like I knew I was black probably about 8 or 9. Like, I started knowing
Yeah.
race about 8 or 9.
Okay.
I knew it 10 years old in the 5th grade that I looked at Rachel. Before that, I didn't care. Everybody's just friends. And then Rachel, she started to develop, and I was like, hey, that's attractive.
Love
So to
that.
answer your
I love that
question-
for you. I
Yeah.
love that for you. I think that's actually a little unique that you have a memory of like the first time you were attracted to another human being.
We were on the 2nd floor,
Yeah.
right up the stairs.
Killing it.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Rachel must have been like that.
I can't pinpoint it like that. I
Yeah.
don't have that.
But you asked for the age, so that's what it's like when you say when it is like their whole life, but sexuality doesn't happen at 3, 4, 5 years old. And that was kind of like, that's kind of where I was getting after,
Got
where
it.
it was a certain time or age where it was like, hey, I'm not looking at her, I started looking at him.
I have no idea. Well, I've been asked a question of like, oh, when did you know? I was like, oh, I just kind of always known, you know what I mean? But never like, who is the first person that you were attracted to? I don't know. No idea.
The black thing kind of brings me to a connection at home. Actually, in 2020, I went to this, it was kind of a panel, right, about social justice. And
Okay.
we were talking about everything with George Floyd, and there was an LGBTQ advocate that was
Okay.
there. And I was much like this. I was very inquisitive and curious because I felt like if I could consistently speak up for black people and what they deserve and how we should be treated, then other causes should be important to me as
Okay.
well. And in asking those questions, she started to talk to me about the high murder rate in black trans that were in Louisiana. Having that conversation, and it made me say, okay, how do we now learn more about the LGBTQ community. We have so much further to go now, but I know especially when you were coming up, there was a long way and a lot of understanding that needed to be had from the LGBT community to the rest of the world.
Okay.
How difficult was it for you to assimilate or to keep part of your life hidden throughout your life?
It was definitely difficult, but you become a great code switcher. You know what I mean? Everybody's a little bit of a chameleon.
Everybody has
you know
to.
what I mean? You have like different shades of your personality depending on who you're with. You know, like when you're around football guys, you kind of talk a little bit differently than you're with, you know, executives and marketing people, right? Like you're a little more polished. And so you learn that as a young person, and I'm a very naturally masculine person, but for, you know, my gay friends who are more flamboyant and like maybe have a higher pitched voice, like they really had a tougher time to assimilate and to really dodge, you know, the insults, dodge kind of the snickering. But for most, you know, people in the gay community, it's tough. Like America's a very Christian society, and you know, people pull a few verses out and they like really use them against you. And it's way better now. Like you said, like we've come such a long way. You know, but 30 years ago, like you lose your family, you get kicked out, you know, you get put on the street. It wasn't really like a choice to assimilate. It was, you had to do it. And so for me, I love sports. I was kind of always myself, you know, and I just didn't reveal like the whole part of it. You know what I mean? I was like 90%, right? I still feel like I'm the same person. I'm just dating the people I want to date now.
How more difficult decision to tell your family or to tell the world?
Well, the way I told my family is pretty hilarious, and it involves this chain. So this is kind of like my coming out chain. I always wanted a gold Cuban link. Like I always wanted one. I love gold. I think like I'm not a flashy person, but I always wanted a really clean Cuban link chain. I was so neurotic about how I presented every day. I was like, I can't get out it. I can't I have to be so on point day in, day out. And it bled into so many other aspects to where like I was so consumed with what other people thought about me. And I thought that if I got the gold chain that I wanted, that people would say, oh, Carl's changed. Oh, like Carl can't pull that off. He looks like an idiot, like whatever. And so I didn't get one for years. I wanted one so bad when I got drafted, didn't get one till, you know, my 4th year. One day I was in Tampa and I was leaving for the gym. And it was at this point I was like so neurotic that I would wear a workout clothes to the gym, and I thought I looked too gay. So then I would go back in the house, change to some like baggier clothes. Then I went back out to my car. I was like, oh, this is too baggy. Then I swear to God. And then I went back in my house. I changed 4 times. And then I like yelled out. I was like, dude, do what you want. And I got in my car, drove to the mall, great mall in Tampa, got to the jeweler, tried on like 3 different chains, put this chain on, bought it there, and came out to my entire family that day. Like all my siblings, parents, best friends, because this was like the first time that I did something that I really wanted to do. And I was wearing the chain and called everybody up. It was exhausting. You know, I've got 4 siblings. I called my best friends. It was like 10 phone calls later. It was all because just like one moment of, hey, wait, do what you want to do, be who you want to be. And it really was like a spark to coming out, but much less dramatic than the way I came out publicly. Yeah. You know,
The build up to it. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? You know what I mean? Like,
the fact that
I'm not a
Cuban
flashy
link-
person, but I love a chain. Like I love a nice, clean.
I think it's
Cuban link.
funnier that you changed 4 times to go to the gym. Because
Yeah.
now I work out in a public gym, Carl, and there's nobody there
We got to talk about.
to impress.
We got to talk about public gyms, by the way.
Yeah, like he don't work out.
Post-retirement, it's the worst.
He don't work out. He don't know.
Yeah,
You don't work out?
care.
Why would I?
Healthy. You got to stay healthy, man. Health is the most important
Hey,
thing.
look, you see me?
Okay, how's your blood pressure?
stunning.
Good, killing it.
Blood pressure. I don't even go to the doctor, Carl. But
You should go to the doctor. Everybody should be healthy. Go work out. Yeah.
Like when you talk about the public gym, like, I was a public gym guy. I did spin class. I do the little stretching classes, the
Nice.
yoga. I was doing all of that. And the conversation does get a little heavy sometimes. You got people who want to come up, talk about your career and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was I took full advantage of the NFL trusts.
Oh,
They
yeah?
have the thing at the YMCA where it's free memberships.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for your entire family. You or your entire family, they take care of all of that. So I got the free membership at the Y, so I don't hesitate to sneak
that.
into the Y. So it's not as like overbearing as
Easy.
like the public gym because
Gotta
it's
use
less
that.
people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you hate the public gym so much, though?
The etiquette is atrocious. These people have no idea how to work out. And they grunt with 25 bench presses, and I'm gonna lose it. You know what I mean? This is yesterday, and I was repping out 225 like it was nothing yesterday, listening to like a sad Taylor Swift song. You know what I mean? And I got this nerd next to me, benching 95 pounds, slamming it back. And like I turned, I look at him, like give him the death stare. It's terrible. The etiquette, you know what I mean, in normal people gyms needs to be studied. Okay, if we're gonna like change culture, it's gotta start there. It's so bad. Let me vent
Carl,
here
are you
really
a gym
quickly.
snob?
Nah, I'm a gym rat. Like it's the Swole Factory for me. Like I'm in there to throw weight around. I get in and get out. I'm not on my phone. Everyone's on their phones for way too long in the gym too. You know what I mean? And like I'm sure you guys love this, but like, why are women in underwear? Like, why are women in bras? You know what I mean? Like they're butt naked. Like you guys love it, good for you guys. You know what I mean? But like, give me a break. Like, what are we doing? And I just like, I'm in the gym yesterday and these like beautiful women walk by in bras in the public and they're just working out. So I'm a big feminist. Like the girls and the gays, we got it locked down. And so I don't really get it. But the gym etiquette is atrocious in America and we need to fix it.
Carl, I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, you weren't gay until like just then.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
I let a little bit of the code switching went in.
You let a little bit out. He was like, I'm benching, I'm throwing around 225, listening to a sad Taylor Swift song.
Yeah,
that was the first.
It was outrageous. The guy was slamming the thing. I'm pissed. You know what I mean? You know when like somebody gets angry, like their like inner something comes out. You know what I mean? Like that's probably what happens. You know?
I really want to ask you, are you a fan of Taylor and Travis? Like that whole union?
I'm a big fan of T Swift. The Chiefs beat the crap out of us so many times. So I think Travis is a great player. He's one of the best tight ends of all time. And I hope that like they're the best. I mean, I don't really care about like public relationships, but I love that they're happy. That's awesome. They're like kind of the biggest power couple I've ever seen. Damn. Like
Jay-Z, Beyonce?
that's number one.
My man.
Actually, I don't know. What? Jay-Z's the best rapper of all time, I think.
Back to power couples. Are we gonna see Carl Nassib power couple come out and like have big nuptials and?
I'm single. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm a very private person when it comes to that stuff, so I don't feel like I'll be one of those people that like invites a magazine to their wedding or some shit like that. Yeah.
People are gonna want to get the picture of your wedding.
I'll
if
be
you get married,
irrelevant by then. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
He said it. Even People, but like People Magazine and all these
I'm
other.
talking about,
Yeah, they're
No,
gonna
they won't get a
definitely-
picture from me.
The rest of your life, you're gonna be the first openly gay active football player.
Yeah.
That is never gonna change. And
Point.
they're gonna talk about Rays and they're gonna talk about being a walk-on, the conversation with Bill O'Brien. All those things are gonna happen, but at some point in the header, that's what it's going to read. And so when you get married, bro, it's gonna be a big thing. Or if you're ever just even caught walking down the New York streets holding hands, it's gonna be a big deal. You're not gonna be able to outrun that.
I don't think so. I mean, I've been in relationships where I walk down the street holding hands. Nobody's ever stopped me. It's not that big of a deal, and that's kind of like my thing is like, I hope in the future it's not a big deal, and it is irrelevant, and I hope that there's a future where like people don't even feel like they have to get in the closet because people go into the closet because they're afraid. They're hiding part of themselves, right? And so I remember when I came out, I said, I hope there's a world where you don't have to come out, and the reason you don't have to come out is because you never have to go in, right? So like kind of what I view as future is that we kind of just see each other for our shared humanity and not what makes us different. That would be really cool to see down the future,
Carl, we always ask our guests their biggest pivot in life. That's that one moment you can look back on and say, with this happening to me or for me, I wouldn't be who I am right now.
I think the biggest thing for me was getting my scholarship, for sure. That was such a, I don't want to sound like it's a cliche, that was such a pivotal moment for me, getting my scholarship. It was. If I didn't get that scholarship, I don't think I would have stayed at Penn State. I think I would have had to drop out. I think I would have to go on school like at a community college and like finish my degree there. Luckily I was able to, prove that I was, worthy of a scholarship, and had a good career. So without a doubt, that was the best, best moment.
Well, man, we've been trying to get this done for almost a year.
We really have, yes.
I've been really wanting to get this sit down, and I think you have a perception of what someone could be and how they may be, and then you get to sit with them, and there's so much more than that, man. I appreciate your openness, your candidness, your humor, and also though, like the ability to show people that this is actually what a locker room looks like. People who have commonalities, people who have differences, but those differences don't matter when you got good-hearted people sitting around chopping it up and all have one goal.
I miss this part of football where you make fun of each other. You just it's so honest, it's so nice, it's so lighthearted, and this was awesome. One of my best favorite interviews.
Man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
bro.
thanks
Appreciate
you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, my dog.
You're the man.
Hey, vacation is funny as hell.
I'm hot.
Yeah.
I appreciate you,
Yeah,
bro.
you guys are awesome.
Oh, yeah, sun
You
on
guys
your
got
back.
great questions.
We tried, bro.
Try to work.
I get the worst questions ever. I get, what was it like playing with Tom Brady? Some nerds asking me the dumbest questions. I'm like, he played with me. You know what I mean? I just get it.
Hold up, limitless. Niggas still got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On this vision I can trust. Limitless. Niggas still got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up.